Hello everyone, welcome back to Magad Gyan Kane, and this is the second part of our series of web development, and today we'll be discussing about the introduction to CSS. In the last video we did about introduction to HTML, and this video is about introduction to CSS. So basically let's look at the basic and some not so interesting information about CSS. So CSS stands for cascading style sheets. Don't bother much about cascading, just look at style sheets. You can see the word style, right? So you can just assume that there is something to do with style in these things, and hence the next point is CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. So as we had discussed in the previous video, that HTML forms the structure of the web page. HTML forms the structure of the web page. So the structure of a web page would look very basic, very pale, and very not so attractive. So we use CSS, and CSS styles the HTML code. It makes the web page look better, and CSS saves a lot of work, and we can use external style sheets to store in CSS files. Now, how can we create a new CSS file which would style our HTML code? So this can be done with three ways. We can style in the HTML file inline, we can style internally in the HTML file, and we can make a new CSS file. So let's see inline first. So let's go back to our previous code that we had created. What does this inline mean? So inline means the style attribute inside the HTML elements. Inside the HTML elements. So I discussed that HTML element is everything from a starting tag to an end tag. So this is one element, this is second element, this is third element, correct? So we have to use the style tag attribute, style attribute. So what to do is inside the start tag of any of these elements, go there and press space and write style. After writing style, put equal to, and these two apostrophes will come automatically as I'm using Visual Studio Code. And inside that you can do something. Now let me just introduce you to CSS. I can change the color, so it will be COLOR, then I will use a colon and change the color to royal blue. Now what will happen is that in the h1 tag, what I did is that I changed the color of this h1 tag to royal blue. Now let's see. There you go. You have this color changed to royal blue. Let's do it to h2. Style, and this time I want to change font size, the font size. So we go font size, and I will do, let's just say 10 pixels. So pixel is just a unit of measurement in coding words, so we have decreased the font size to 10 pixels. See, normally this h2 tag is this big, h2 is this big, but when I added the style, it decreased it to 10 pixels, which is this small. So I think you get the idea of inline way to add styles. Now let's move to the next way, which is internally. By internally, there is a tag in HTML which is the style tag. So go to head, then there type style and close it. There you go. This is your tag, style tag. Inside the style tag, you can code using CSS. Now how to code? So let me just tell you the syntax of CSS. The thing you see here, there is an h1 tag, correct? There is an h1 tag. This tag after is followed by a curly brackets, two curly brackets. So this h1 tag is known as the selector. This h1 tag is known as the selector, and then we have started our code. So what is this selector? So selector, as by its word we can see that we are selecting h1. We have selected h1 in our style sheet, and now we can style this h1 tag. So after selecting, we will inside the curly brackets we will write something. Let's write color and change it to royal blue. Now what is this color? This color is known as a property. This color is known as a property. So inside the h1 tag, h1 is a selector, inside that color is a property, and royal blue is the value of the property. Okay, so we have property and we have the value of property. That was the syntax. Now let me just simplify it. This is h1 tag, which is your selector. Inside that we have the property and we have the property value. That is it. Okay, now you can see we have styled both of these, h1 color royal blue, h2 color royal blue. You can write in both ways, by pressing enter or in just one line. I will suggest you write in that form because it is easier to understand for you. Now, the next one was external. External is creating a new CSS file, which is the best thing to do because it makes your files more arranged, more organized, and less complicated. So let me just remove this. Now, how to go it? You remember that we went to this, pressed new file, and let me just write style. This is the name of the file. Now, you remember that in HTML we wrote .html, in CSS we wrote .css. Very simple, I guess. Now, we have created a CSS file, but let me just write h1 and do that, then do color dot royal blue. Now let's see whether it changed something or not. As you can see, nothing changed. Why nothing changed? I did write h1, I did put the curly brackets, I did wrote color, and I did wrote royal blue. I did everything correct, syntax is correct, everything is correct. It is a CSS file, of course. Then why is it not appearing? This is not appearing because we have not linked our CSS file to index.html. So how can we link it? So first, go to head tag, create a tag in HTML which is known as link. Inside the link, when you close it, you would see there is no end tag for link. There are some tags which does not have a link tag, end tag, and link is one. So inside the link, go there, type rel, and inside that rel, type style sheet. After doing that, go to href, and press enter the name of your CSS file. Mine is style.css. So this href acts as a redirection tag or a place which you can store names or links or URLs. So inside the href, I put the name of my CSS file. If you have named something else, then name your CSS file accordingly. Now you can see after I have linked my CSS file to my HTML file, I think the h1 tag should appear, h1 color should appear. There you go. It is now successfully working. So now you saw everything that you need to know in CSS. So first let's break it down again. The syntax. How is the syntax? We have a selector, then we put curly brackets. Inside that we have a property, which we have a huge amounts of properties. We have font, we can change color, we can have grid boxes, everything that you want. So let me just change the font family. Font family means different type of font, and we go sans serif, and it changed the font. Let me just style the h1 tag. Let's go to color. Let me just do royal blue again. Now we can not just select tags, we cannot just select h1 tags or p tags, we can also select this entire body tag. Now let me just select the body tag, and when I have selected the body tag, there is an element called padding. Okay, inside the padding I will just do 10 100 for now. Let me just not write this and show you the website. So you can see that every word is ticked to the left, so I can use padding to change this. Let me just write that padding, let's do 15 pixels. Do you saw that what happened? Let me just remove this. You saw it is completely on top and on left, but when I put the padding, it moved towards the 50. So this is 15 pixels and this is also 15 pixels, so it moved 15 pixels from top left, and it also moved from right. If I increase it to 100 pixels, look what happened. This is also 100 pixels, this is 100 pixels, this is 100 pixels. So padding is one property of CSS that we'll be learning, but this was some basics of CSS. Now another thing is, so in the next video we'll be discussing about some basics of HTML, and then we'll be moving to CSS and we'll complete the series. And also I have something to tell you, that this series will be a very long series because coding programming is a skill and no one can learn a skill within a span of few weeks or few days. And if you're very impatient, then I won't suggest being that impatient while learning a new skill, because learning a new skill takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication. So kindly don't be impatient, stay with me and learn together, because It might take a few months or even a few years to master a skill completely. Hence, we cannot just rush to learn a new skill. That's all for this video. Let's see you in the next one.